Hi everybody, Mr. Cassidy here. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to take you through some drawing techniques that you would otherwise be learning in graphics. Okay, let's get on with it. So we're going to do a drawing technique called 2-point perspective. So for this drawing technique, ruler is going to be really important. It doesn't have to be a safety ruler like this. It can just be any, preferably 30 centimetre, any plastic ruler, okay? So the first thing we do with that, using our pencil. Now I've got two pencils here. I've got a 2B, which is this one, and I've got a 2H, which is this one. Now the 2H is a harder pencil, so it will draw a lighter line, and the 2B is a darker pencil, okay? It's a bit softer, so it will draw a darker line. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw in our horizon line. Now if you don't have a 2B, don't worry, you can just press on a little bit lighter. So that is our horizon line, and the next thing to do now is to make a point at each end of it. Now that's what's called our vanishing points. Every point that we draw in this will go back to the vanishing points. Okay, so let's start drawing some shapes on there. So we're going to start with one line like that. Okay, now as I said, every point goes back to the vanishing points. So from the top of that line, I'm going to draw a very light line back to the vanishing point. So these are going to be my guidelines. Okay, and then the same on this side. So from the bottom of that line over to the vanishing point, and from the top of that line to the vanishing point. Okay, so I've got now anywhere between these two lines to make the width of my box. So I'm going to make the width of my box about here, and I'm going to draw a vertical line just there. Okay, now once again I've drawn another line on there, so everything needs to go back to the vanishing points. So I'm going to go from the top of that line back to the vanishing point, and we're not going to go from the bottom of the line because that line will go through our box. Okay, now how deep is our box going to be? I'm going to draw a vertical line about here to show that that's how far back my box goes. Now I've made another line there, so I need to put all of it back to the vanishing points. So from the top of that line to the vanishing point, and then we don't go from the bottom line again because that guideline we wouldn't see. Okay, so the next thing to do then is to draw out the edges a little bit bolder to show the edges of the box. Okay, so you can see because I drew my box below the horizon line, I can see the top of the box. Now watch what happens when we draw lines above the horizon line. So I'm going to start with one edge. Okay, now as with the other one, I need to connect the top and the bottom of that line back to the vanishing point, and the same on this side. So now I have some lines to go off. I can now decide how deep and how wide my box is. So let's make this one a little bit deeper. So let's have it going back to about there. Okay, always a vertical line, don't forget. And I'm going to make the box about this wide. You don't have to measure for this bit. Just create a range of different sizes, that's all you need to do. Okay, so because I've now got two more lines, those lines need joining back to the vanishing point. Now, as before, we don't join these points back to the vanishing point because the guidelines would go through the box, so we don't need those lines. Obviously, these heavier lines follow the guidelines. Okay, and there we have it. Now, because I drew this box above the horizon line, I can see the bottom. So that's the rule. If you draw your box below the horizon line, we can see the top. If you draw it above, we can see the bottom of the box. So what I want you to do now is 2 more boxes, 2 above and 2 below the horizon line. Okay? Off you go. Here's mine. There are 6 boxes here. On this one, I've added an extra box. On this one, I've put a little hole on. So just some extra things for the people who feel really confident with this. Why don't you just have a go at extending your skills and just trying to incorporate some extra features into your drawing, okay? Okay, so looking at the work, you can see that there isn't a single line in any of my boxes that isn't either a vertical or one that follows a guideline back to the vanishing point, okay? So just take a moment now to check your drawing and just make sure that every single line follows a guideline that eventually makes its way back to the vanishing points, okay? Now, when you've done that, you can put an arrow in the top corner just to remind us. So let's just say that the light is coming from this angle, and let's write the word light, okay? Now, the rule with light is that if light touches a surface, it's going to be lighter. Or if a surface is away from the source of light, it's going to be darker. So let's identify the darkest ones first. This one is going to be the darkest one. This one is away from the source of light, as are these 2 here. So we're going to make that our darkest shading. So using your pencil very carefully, just start to block in some of those surfaces. Okay, so I've pretty much got all of the dark ones in. I'm going to start now just taking my pencil down, not pressing on quite as hard, and I'm going to put my midtones in now. So you can see now that I've added the dark bits and I've added the mid bits. Now, if you feel anywhere on your drawing that bits just want sharpening up, just to really differentiate between those different tonal values, we're just going around drawing and accentuating the edges. Now, once you've done that, the next lot of surfaces to cover is the lightest. They're the lightest one. So this one has got on the top was where the light would be hitting it, and I'm just kind of dusting it with my pencil. And there we are. So there are 2 skills there. The first one is 2-point perspective drawing. So making sure that all of our lines are vertical or that follow the path back to the vanishing points. Rule number 1. The second skill is the 3 different tonal values for the shading to make it have the impression of being 3D, okay? So you're going to look at where the light's coming from and add one of 3 dark, mid or light tonal values that you're going to add, okay? And don't forget, you can email me your work once you've photographed it, and you never know, it might feature on the next video. I'll see you then.